First off, I just wanted to say thank you all again for coming. Happy May. I believe it's May. I don't really know anymore. But thank you for attending today. We get to spend some time with Claudio Viberti and his esteemed winery from Piedmonte. Just to give you sort of the ground rules again, we will do like a half-hour presentation where Claudio talks, goes through everything on these slides, and then at the end you can ask questions. There's two ways to do it. Either press the chat button, which is in the bottom right screen where you can type in a question if you're uncomfortable talking, or if you click on the participants button at the bottom, a list of participants will show up and then your name will be there. There's a raise hand feature. Raise your hand. I will unmute you. You can ask your question to Claudio personally. So with that being said, I will send it over to Claudio. Claudio, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I love your presentation. They're always very formal. Anyway, thank you everybody for attending. So we go a little bit through our presentation. I prepared myself for this special meeting. It's actually my second time doing this type of thing overseas. I did yesterday once, and was very good. So for the one who knows me, for the one who doesn't know me, my name is Claudio Viberti. I'm the winemaker, one of the family owner of the Viberti winery. That is a family estate winery founded in Barolo and also based in Barolo. And the history of our brand is just a moment. I need something doesn't work. Just a moment. Okay, the history start here in this house. This is a picture from 1921, and when my actually grandfather started to make in the basement of this building his house wine for his restaurant. This place was called the Buon Padre, like good father. It was not really the real name of the place, but was the nickname the people that travel used to give to my great-grandfather. That was a kind person willing to serve food, wine, and give a bed for a couple of hour rest to anyone who was like passing through the road that from Barolo village was going to the valley, and then take you to the south of Piedmont and then to the seaside, to Liguria. So basically people that used to do the trading within the seaside area and the lower part of Piedmont. So that's the story of my family. We are born as a restaurant people, and the wine just comes after in 1923 with the really first vintage of what it was called the Vino del Buon Padre, the house wine that was bottled not with the brand Viberti but as a private label, the Buon Padre label. This wine step by step became popular, and step by step my family started to produce this wine not just to sell in its own premise but also to sell all over. That's the same building nowadays that was a little bit like renovated, expanded, grow, and underground in the basement is still existing the same winery as it was before. And this is my mother. My mom that was the executive chef at the Buon Padre for 52 years, and about 3 years ago she kind of leave the job to what is now our executive chef, but we were proud of her enough about her career in the restaurant, and we even built later on just last year a new restaurant called La Gemella, like twin sister, that is actually dedicated to my mother, that is a twin sister. And the history of our background of restaurant and the background of the wine always cross the path each other, because first Buon Padre restaurant gave the name to the wine, to our Barolo, and then a new label that was started to be produced in 2004. Later on, gave the name to another restaurant that is now La Gemella. And that's the basement of Buonpadre, where we still keep the same barrel of when we start to make this wine. And those two barrels, they were like holding two different crus, two different Nebbiolo grapes wine that used to produce the Barolo from two different vineyards. One was Brecco delle Viole and one was La Volta. In total, we have still in the cellar we have 8 barrels like this, because obviously every year we used to have 4 vintages in stock, and we used to produce 1 barrel each from each vineyard that at the end of the aging used to be blended to produce what is the Barolo Buonpadre, that we call it Classico, but Classico is not actually like in the Chianti identifying a region. For us is when a Barolo is produced as a blend of Nebbiolo that grow from different vineyards. Step by step, we built in 1968 another cellar that is nowadays exclusively used to produce our red wines, and exclusively used to do only the fermentation process. That is one of the key process in the quality of a wine when after the grapes are picked. We are very careful about each of our parcel, and each parcel is actually separate fermented, some in a roto fermenter, as you see in the bottom, that are horizontal fermenter, and some are vertical fermenter, so with skin cap on top, where we manage, you know, more traditional style fermentation. And that's our aging cellar. In our aging cellar, 95% of the oak is Tino. Tino is not the barrel, the botte. You know, barrel, if you translate in Italian, is botte. Botte is an horizontal barrel. This is a vertical shaped barrel, and the concept is because you don't need to curve too much the piece of oak to fix the ring. You can allow to manufacture the barrel without use any like a toasting process, any fire. So 100% of our barrel, our tini for the aging is not toasted, it's steamed. Is only the hot water we use to manufacture the barrel. This allowed to produce wine that never gives any vanilla, any like oaky feeling, or any like flavor that comes from the toasting process, but the grapes flavor get its own development in a more pure way, in a more clean way. Core business, the heart of our company, of our winery, is the vineyards. Some of you have been in Barolo before, and they notice we are fortunate and unfortunate, because we have 23 hectares in our case that are extremely fragmented. 0.3 hectare is our average parcel in Barolo, so we have around 68 different parcels in the whole Barolo area. Piedmont is one of the top in production wine region in Italy. It's 41 roughly hectare. Yes, different wine area. We are down in south in a macro area called Langhe that actually include the production of Barolo and Barbaresco. And the Barolo zone include about 2,000 hectares. A little bit less than 2,000 hectares, and they are all spread around 11 villages. We are based mostly in the Barolo village, that is located in what we consider the west coast of the Barolo area. West coast that has a very different aspect versus the East Coast that tend to have tannin that are more austere and drier, while the West tend to have more velvety tannin, acidity in the altitude of the hills and more perfume and nose. There is more elegance in somehow and less austerity versus the east. This is the old official map. You see, each color represents an individual cruise, and we count in the old Barolo area 181 cruise. Some are a little bit larger, like Bussia in Monforte d'Alba. Some, like where we are, San Pietro, Brecco delle Viole, La Volta, are relatively smaller cruise. Each individual cruise tend to give a very different characteristic to the wine. And inside each cruise, some wineries, including Viberti, we even own different parcels. So our winery is equipped in the way that we vinify all the different parcels inside each cru. So not just, we don't just vinify, we don't just ferment the individual crus, but we actually make the single wine per each single parcel. Because actually, some of those parcels inside the same cru, they give different wines. For example, this specific parcel in Brecco delle Viole gives the single vineyards Riserva Brecco delle Viole, while those are parcels that are dedicated to our Barolo Classico, the label Barolo Buonpadre. But inside those, we have a parcel that in French they will call it a clos. It's a unique parcel inside a cru and is the only parcel planted currently with Barbera grapes in an area that is fully planted with Nebbiolo grapes. This special vineyards was planted back in 1943, and we have maintained, preserved the vineyards with muscle selection over the years. We don't have any missing vines. The parcel is 0.9 hectare, and out of it we produce about 6,000, 7,000 bottles roughly a year. It's called Brecco Airoli. Brecco Airoli is a fantasy name, and it was given by my grandfather because he doesn't want to call his Barbera like the vineyards, like Brecco delle Viole, because he always want to make different his Barolo label from his Barbera label. So this nickname represent a unique parcel inside an even already unique area that is a cru of Barolo. And this is another cruise that historically owned by my family, is the San Pietro. San Pietro, if you look back to the map, and if some of you want to have the presentation later, I can easily make sure to send you out by email. But San Pietro, there is two San Pietro in Barolo, in the whole zone. San Pietro di Monforte, that is actually in the Monforte d'Alba village, and San Pietro, without any additional name, that is the smallest cru in Barolo village. The cru, we own 3 parcels, as you notice right here. This year, big news, we have rented 1 and 2 more parcels. The name San Pietro comes to the name of this little chapel that, as you notice, overlook the hill. Is actually the vineyard stay behind this little chapel facing south and looking partly Barolo village and partly they face La Mora village. So it goes from south towards west. And this stripe on top of the vineyards is the parcel we used to produce the San Pietro. Out of the all single vineyards produced by Viberti, they are all aged in oak for minimum 5 years, and then they are moved to bottle. The San Pietro generally tend to stay 4 years, 4.5, and before going into the bottle, we always like store the wine in stainless steel or in a closed tank, not in oak, for about 6 months, a year before bottling. This was an antique method used to be carried by my grandfather, by my father, because you have to know that you know, in 1970s, 1980s, you know, Barolo was not really the first one we are selling. Actually, the first one we are selling was the Dolcetto. Dolcetto, that it's in our culture, the everyday drinking wine, you know, the Monday to Friday one, we might call it. And the Barolo was just an additional extra. It was sold as a prestigious wine. And often, especially in the 70s, there was no money enough to get through these wines. So we are always like waiting for the bottling of the next vintage, we used to have stock of the previous vintage. And this opportunity to stock extra the wine used to give us a specific characteristic, especially on the nose, what it might be called the goudron, the tar feeling, the hot pavement when it's summertime. Those type of more tertiary aroma that are still well preserved using the same method into our Riserva San Pietro. La Volta is pretty larger, as you notice, versus the DAP San Pietro. La Volta is divided by the south, right here, west, that is a parcel we use 100% to produce our Langhe Nebbiolo, so our baby Barolo. And then it's mostly like north and east, and these are the less prestigious vineyards. These vineyards is owned by my family since 1951. And we produce the label Riserva La Volta, and part of the grapes, a big part of the grape, because this is 1.8 hectare, is used also to produce the Buon Padre. Currently, I'm sure you don't see the La Volta label around, because in 2011, after the harvest, we have replanted the vineyards, and you will see again the label starting with 2015, including in the blend of the Buon Padre. And that's the name La Volta, the castle that overlooks the vineyards. Specifically, this plot here is the one we use to produce our Langhe Nebbiolo. Behind the castle is the south exposure, is the one we use to produce the Barolos. And that's the Buon Padre. Classico and tradizionale. And classico, as I explained before, for our old school people, was always a meaning of blend of different vineyards. And tradizionale as a way to vinify the wine. Big barrel, as you noticed before, for the aging, and we tend to, in the past, they tend to do longer skin contact. To be honest, we have reduced a lot the skin contact method because with the new technology, we can easily like improve the quality, you know, trying to start the fermentation as quick as possible after the grapes are in, thanks to the preheat barrel. And in this way, we can always extract the top tannin, the good ones. Often in the past, the fact that it was very long skin contact was due to the fact that they were picking the grapes very late, and also because they were, you know, they were bringing in the winery very cold grapes, and with no technology enough to do preheating of the tank, so temperature control. The fermentation was taking, the alcoholic fermentation was taking very long time before being started. So the skin contact was actually very like long, very long, was longer than nowadays time. I always wanted to point out that this fact, because I don't really believe nowadays when I hear also other winemakers, my colleagues saying, oh, we're still doing 30, 40 days skin contact. I don't really see personally, a way to respect the nowadays time and a way to improve the quality. To be traditional nowadays is also very important to be updated, to be a little bit modern in what we're doing in the cellar. As I said before, first year of production 1923, and is made as a blend of 10 different crus. Let me show you the crus. Monvillero, that is actually the latest addition, but I just made a presentation starting from north and going anti-clockwise. It's a leased vineyards from my ex-schoolmate, Diego Mora. We used to go to school together. He used to sell these grapes to Fontana Fredda, a bigger company, and as soon as we finish school, we have talked a long time to be able to work together. The father was not really in the mood to change anything, but finally in 2016, it was the first time they finally made us the contract that will be for 17 years, so it will be for a long time. Very small part in the Buon Padre. In the first vintage 16, there is about 7% of the blend. And from 2017, we're gonna also release the single vineyards, not as a reserve, but this will be the only single vineyards of Viberti will be released with the same release of the Buon Padre. And I think will be the wine with less oak aging. To tell you the truth, 2017 is already out of the oak and is already bottled, because we don't think Monvillero as a vineyards. It shows the best when it stays when it mature longer in oak. Fossati Alessandria, that is just the coast from La Morra towards Vergne, that is our district. That it stays on top of Barolo. Bricco delle Viole. Bricco delle Viole is one of our core vineyards. Here we have property 2.25 hectare and leased 0.9 hectare. And we made last year a future agreement with a grower that has 1.1 hectare, and that will be for the next 20 years is the agreement, also our supplier. La Volta, we just finished to talk about La Volta, that is the castle one. Then Bergera. Bergera is far southern, and is actually an area where we mostly have our Barbera grapes. We also manage Nebbiolo that we use for the Buon Padre. Ravera. Here we are. That is Ravera di Barolo in our case. We also do the single vineyards, but more limited edition, because here is a leased vineyards, and sometimes the owner doesn't want to lease. Sometimes they want, so they are a little bit unstable people, I will say. Perno, that is the only vineyards that we manage in Castiglione Falletto. Terlo, Albarella in Barolo, latest addition since 2013, 1.1 hectare, just on the other side of Canubi Boschis. San Pietro, we just talked about San Pietro before. Albarella, it's the first vineyards we harvest all over those vineyards, because it's the lowest in altitude, and Canubi, Albarella, and the stripe hill that from Barolo village go towards the valley. It's we noticed since 2003 is one of the area that is getting warmer and warmer. This is good and bad. You need to change a lot your way to work in vineyards and to farm, especially protect the grapes from the sunburn in the summer, and check carefully the acidity level instead to check the sugar level for the alcohol for the harvest, because they tend to ripe too quick, and acidity tend to collapse very quick. This is close to Bergera, is what we call internally Cascina Nuova, that means new house. It's a group of plot of vineyards here, where most of those vineyards are used to produce our Barbera La Gemella, high density vineyards. Vineyards were planted between 2002 and 2004, 6,400 vines per hectare. That is pretty high for Barolo, where we have an average 4,800, 5,000 vines per hectare. Brand new Derinato, that will be part of the tasting tonight for me, and we'll talk about the story of this wine later. And also our Dolcetto. Dolcetto is, as I said before, our daily drinking wine. We only produce Dolcetto here as a superiore. That in our case means we stay 1 year in stainless steel, no oak. Dolcetto doesn't like the oak, before being bottled. The reason is because our area of and our type of soil is very much clay, and you know, release bottling and early bottling for Dolcetto, that it's 80% of the Dolcetto in the market. It's not a good thing. It's always better to wait a little bit longer in stainless steel before go through the bottling. Tonight, I want to talk to you about a couple of wines. We decided to talk about Barolo, but because it's it's May 1st, it's holiday here in Italy, and let's say it's the beginning of the summer season. We want to talk about basically the only rosé wine and one white wine of our production. 80% of our production is represented by Barolo wine and Barbera wine. These are very unique and boutique wine that we produce that not everybody knows, so we want to a little bit talk about those two. La Gemella Rosata is actually a rosé 100% made with rose Nebbiolo, rosé clone. Rosé clone, it's one of the 3 biotype of the Nebbiolo. Nebbiolo has 3 type of clone, family clone: the Lampia, the Miquette, and the Rosé. Especially the Rosé was kind of disappeared back in the 1980s because one of his problem was the bunch of grapes was very difficult to get ripened, especially in the phenolic aspect. So it was never really give any color, any good color to the wine. So people start to abandon that and replace it with clones such the Lampia, that is more giving more consistency through the quality. And Lampia is definitely 95% of the total Nebbiolo grapes grow in Barolo. It's a rosé made with the system of Saignée. It's not skin contact, but we do the white wine in press. We produce 1 barrel with red wine from the same vineyards, and then we produce our color, adding the red wine when the white wine is totally finished. We do malo fermentation here, but it's a very special thing because I do 80% of the malo fermentation open air with the tank that is open, and then we close the tank on top with the 20% left of the malo fermentation. The malo fermentation is a secondary product, gives CO2, the carbonic, and closing the tank on top leave a little bit of call it pétillant, is what is giving you the crispiness and the minerality of this wine. Thanks to the early harvest, we also try always to keep the alcohol not higher than 12%, and that's the bunch of the how does it look, the rosé Nebbiolo. The nice story, the storytelling about this one is not that people or my clients ask, "Oh, make a rosé because it's popular." No, Mike Brandt, that is in our meeting now, will tell you that I always told him, I say, Mike, I will never produce any rosé wine, Barolo and Barbera. But then I planted one vineyard of Nebbiolo it was 2015. And when we planted, we noticed that the leaves of the small vines, a year later, they were very different from our Nebbiolo vineyards, what we know as our Lampia Nebbiolo. So we called our supplier, our vivaista is called in Italian, and we say, look, there's something strange. And we discovered they gave us the wrong vines, and they gave us Nebbiolo Rosé. So the immediate reaction was, since we planted, we say, okay, we're gonna produce a different label, and that's how the Gemella Rosata happened. That's why it's also limited. It's a very limited production wine. But in 2018, we planted 0.9 hectare extra. Rinato is very new for everybody in the US. It's a new addition for US, but this label is attributed to the 1988 Viberti Chardonnay. This label was produced already by my father in 1988. The label was the same. It represents the facade of the Buon Padre restaurant. Where is the restaurant? In the bottom, see here, and on top right window is my office, actually, where I am right now. And this wine was not called Rinato. Rinato means reborn, because it's actually a label that is reborn after 30 years. My father produced this wine with a big oak aging. It was very oaky, was very standard Chardonnay, for my opinion. When I start to be the winemaker, I say to my father, I don't like the wine. Because the wine, if I have a blind tasting with my friend, I can't reckon where the wine is coming from, even if it's one of our wine, because it's totally out of the picture, let's say. So I changed it completely, and I moved the production to the Anok Chardonnay that we're still producing. But just to make a peaceful time in the family, in 2014, we planted a new vineyards of Chardonnay, and I say to my father, now I want to start to produce the Chardonnay you were having in mind, but in my own idea, with my own idea. And that's my own idea. It's pretty complicated. The wine, it's actually now fermented for 40% in a spontaneous way in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 tonneaux, 600 liters tonneau. Another part is fermented with the temperature control fermentation in stainless steel. Once the two sides finish the alcoholic fermentation, we blend, putting together the lees. Lees go in a kind of a batonnage during the blend. They get on the bottom of the stainless steel tanks at that step. That is basically 6 months later. So basically we do always the blend in May, June. And then we stay on lees for the aging for another 6 months. And then we bottling the wine. And as my father used to do, we keep doing the packaging in the same way, because it's wax cap. Because he used to don't have money to buy capsule at that time. And you know, when you buy capsule, you have a minimum quantity, it is 20,000. But as he didn't want to buy those, he always does by wax, and we keep doing the same. Anyway, 2018 is in the US, and we only gave, I think it's 102 6-pack to US, correct? Daily life, what we are doing. Everything is all by hand. I'm sure our historical clients knows that we're very, very careful about managing our grass around the vines by hand 3 times a year. we are writing letter to our customer and partner by hand once again. We are building a new winery. So currently we have suspended the works. So we'll see if things will be back to what we might consider normal life. And we hope to start again. It will be a beautiful project, 3 floors underground. And but it needs a lot of commitment, and I'm committed, so I hope you're gonna be committed with us. So we are working, shipping also. Now we change our strategy in Italy. We're shipping also just 1, 2, 3 bottles also to our partner that does deliveries. And we planted more Gemella. So it's going to be more Barbera Gemella in the future. Here we are. That's about 2.8 hectare planted this year. And that's my mother that is keeping, during the lockdown, Buon Padre clean. And I send a letter to some of our partners. I'll be happy to share with you all. Maybe you can send me an email after, and I will share with you my thoughts. These flowers is the dandelion, and you know, it gives this like bonbon after the flower that I'm sure everybody knows that people start to, when you blow these, you make a wish. And more than ever this year, we wish that not come back to the normality, but we hope they're gonna find a cure to this virus. And I'm sure we're gonna come back to the normality with a different awareness and a more like conscious way to approach the life, especially. Thank you, guys. Mike Branch, you wanna talk now?
Sure. Thank you, Claudio. That was terrific. That was visually beautiful, as I would have expected nothing less from you.
They gave me only 30 minutes, so I cannot do more.
I know you could have went on for 3 days if you needed to. Does anybody have any questions for Claudio? Raise your hand, send a quick chat. He'll be happy to answer anything you got for the next 10 to 15 minutes.
I see there is a lot of participants.
Yes.
No question. Everybody are shy.
Oh, we got to thank you, Claudio.
Who is it? Let me see.
Isabella.
Isabella. Who is Isabella? Ah, Stefano. Stefano is asking me to explain about the steaming of the barrel. Yes, the fact is you can manufacture barrel either, I mean, not barrique, so the 225 liters that must be toasted, but the big barrel can be manufactured in either toasting process, so using the fire to actually curve the oak and fix the rings, or the hot water. The difference is that using the fire, you tend to change the nature of the oak, and then obviously the oak over the aging, the maturation process of the wine tend to release flavor to the wine. The steaming process generally tend to just then the oak barrel becomes only like a filter, like a tool that gives a micro oxygenation to the wine. I saw on the vineyards, is that typical? Yes, we get, let's say our type of climate, they're asking if it's typical having snow in the vineyards. Here in the Langhe is a Mediterranean climate, continental to Mediterranean, so we got snow over the winter, and we got roughly 400, 500 milliliters of rain up to 700 milliliters of rain a year. It depends on the vintage, but talking about you know, the winter within 2019 and 2020, we had almost no snow. We had a very unusual, very hot winter. But I remember I traveled to US in January. Was similar in New York as well. It was very like warm, and I have also people in Canada complain that was warm weather too there, and. These type of weather did not help when you have new vineyards to plant in the new season, because the big like piece of soil you move over the fall get destroyed in the texture by the snow did not happen this year. Then another question is here we are. Where are the new vineyards of La Gemella planted? The new vineyards of La Gemella planted in Vergne. Vergne is the name of the village of the district of Barolo where we are. It's actually the upper part of Barolo that is included between Barolo, La Morra, Novello, and Narzole. It's pretty nice, as you see. It's a clay soil type, and here we in these vineyards we actually planted at 6,900 vines hectares, so very like close each other vines. How long is the distance from Monvilliero to Ravera? Thanks for doing this, Claudio. Thank you, Philip, and keep selling La Rosata. We like you, we love you. Anyway, the distance, actually, we are talking about the far north, I mean, really the border on north to the really down south. The distance within the car will be no more than 15 minutes. In kilometers will be 7 kilometers, about 3-4 miles. Air distance, no more than 2 miles. How much more production you will get from the new parcel on San Pietro Vineyards, and how old are the vines? How old are the vines? This is a grower, is a farmer that is a good family friend, and the vineyards, I think they are from the 1960s so far. I don't know exactly the year, but I'm pretty sure it's from that decade. It will be actually these grapes used to produce more Buon Padre. We won't change the vineyards, the parcel we historically used to produce the San Pietro, like we will never change the one we used to produce the Riserva Bricco delle Viole and the Riserva La Volta. So it won't be an increase of production on San Pietro, but it will be an increase of production of Buon Padre. That, by the way, 2016, I think is the best bottle of Buon Padre I've ever made since I'm the winemaker here. Next question, or everybody are shy? New message. The new production from San Pietro Vineyards, in terms of production, will be total 0.6 hectare. That means 3.5 ton. 3.5 ton hectare. No, sorry, 4.5 ton hectare. 4.5 average. Other question? We have I think less than 5 minutes left, but here we are. Yes, they asking me about the Rinato, if it's all fermented in both wood and stainless steel. Yes, the Rinato is fermented from a part that in the case of 2019 was 60-40. Part is in those like tonneau barrel, and part is in stainless steel. 2019, the new vintage, we did 50-50. So basically, we always try to work as in artisanal way. But yes, the concept is ferment in two separate way, the two part, and then blend with the lees after the alcoholic fermentation. Do you have favorite among your single vineyards Barolo release? Currently, right now, I love Buon Padre 16 because it was an easy vintage. So you find very good stuff from 16 around. But I think Buon Padre for for a $50 bottle of wine, it's I mean it's unbelievable bottle. And Bricco delle Viole 2014, that will be next to the market in September. That is very similar to the 2011 that was very successful all over US with you guys. With growing to 10 crews, how many bottles case Barolo you'll be able to produce? But let's say the production, let's say 2019 production, that is actually the data I have on hand, will be the production roughly will be 82,000 bottles of Barolo Buon Padre with the 2019. That in case, maybe you are familiar with case, will be 6,800 cases. Okay, people now thank you all, and yeah, we'll see you in the States, because even if everybody think the future is remote Zoom meeting or online, I still think, and I truly think, even more than ever, bottle of wine in the future will be a storytelling. So the stories behind each of the label will be the view of the wine in the future. So I'm sure people, I visited last time Philip at Yes Chef Wine Bar. I remember that you know, I talked to him about the history, about each label he was working with, and I'm sure with the history on hand, it's a big tool, and is not just the wine anymore. It's also something more, and it will be even more in the future, because anyway, wine is not just a product. Wine is made by people, and in our case, especially in Italy, it's made by families often. So it's a family affair, let's call it. Thank you, Claudio. Great to see you soon. I'll see you soon, Chris Becker. I hope to see you soon in the US. I will take a container. I will be inside the container. I'll be with you guys soon. Tony Orlando, thank you. I will meet you soon. I don't know you yet, but I'll be happy also to send you the presentation via email. Just send me an email. And then Jeff, thank you, Jeff. Best from the South. And thanks, Gianni. I hope you're doing well, and all your family is doing well. Scott, you're the best, you know. You are the greatest.
Here come all the thank yous now. They want some praise from Claudio.
Ecco, Lisa, thank you, Lisa. I get your email as well. Thank you, and I hope your kids are good. Tony, thank you, and enjoy the new reopening in Texas, and I hope you can spread some Viberti around restaurants in Texas. Thank you from Chicago as well. So Joe, thank you, and thank you, Stefano. Julie, eccola, from Colorado, CTS. Thank you for joining the meeting. And thank you also from Hunter from Rhode Island. And I have beautiful memories. I was there, was January, yes.
2 months ago, stuck with me.
Yeah, of February, yes. I went to visit Jessica Granatiero. The shop was Savory Grapes. Thank you, Amalia. Thank you. And thank you, everybody. I hope it was a good overview about Viberti, even if it was shorter. Maybe if it's gonna be in the next year's meetings, we're gonna do more deep info about maybe more single vineyards or more like specific process.
Thank you, Claudio. We appreciate it.
Grazie, Claudio. Ciao,
that was
Consuelo,
awesome.
Arizona.
Ciao, thank you for everything, Claudio.
Ciao from Arizona. Ciao, carissimo.
Ciao,
Digli ciao a Dario. Salutami, Dario.
Saluta
Ciao,
tutti.
Claudio from New York.
Ciao. Ciao a tutti, grazie. Scrivetemi una mail, send me an email.
Va bene. Be
and
safe.
We'll see you very soon in the US. You know, I need to travel to US, otherwise my bottles stay in Opichi warehouse. It's not good. I need to travel. Ciao.
Thanks.